Picture this. It's the very beginning of the Korean War. A nation's capital, Seoul, the heart of its government, its culture, its identity, is gone. It fell in just 3 days. I mean, can you believe that? It was an absolute catastrophe, a collapse that not only stunned the world, but also lit the fuse for a brutal global conflict.
So, yeah, that leads to the big question, right? How on earth does a nation's capital fall in just 3 days? I mean, that's not supposed to happen. A city like that should hold out for weeks, months even. To really get our heads around this, we need to look at the sheer, overwhelming force that came crashing down at the very start of the war.
Okay, so let's set the scene. This wasn't just some border skirmish. The invasion was a true blitzkrieg. It all kicked off on June 25, 1950. That's the day North Korean forces just stormed across the 38th parallel. And believe me, this was no spontaneous move. It was a meticulously planned assault.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The speed is absolutely staggering. Day 1, they pour across the border. By day 2, the initial South Korean defenses are already crumbling, just falling apart. And then, bam, by June 28th, day 3, the capital city of Seoul is occupied. It's over. The North's army, the KPA, they were all about that blitzkrieg style. Pure speed and overwhelming firepower.
So why? Why did the defenses just melt away? Well, the simple truth is, this was never, ever a fair fight. The mismatch in military power was just huge. And here's the kicker. It was kind of by design. You see, after World War II, American advisors deliberately equipped the South Korean army to handle, internal stuff, not a full-blown war. They were actually worried that if South Korea was too strong, they might try to invade the North. The result? A military that was completely, totally unprepared for the storm that was about to hit them.
And this right here, this is the devastating result of that policy. The North Korean KPA rolls in with these Soviet-made T-34 tanks. We're talking a modern, mechanized invasion force. And what did the South Korean ROK have to stop them? Literally nothing. No tanks of their own, no decent anti-tank weapons. They were basically a police force trying to stop an armored division. They had no idea how to deal with this kind of assault.
And that brings us to this number, 45,000. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the devastating human cost of that mismatch. In just the first few days of the invasion, 45,000 South Korean soldiers were either dead or missing. It's just a catastrophic loss, and it really shows you the absolute ferocity of that initial attack.
So, with their defensive lines completely shattered and the army in total disarray, the battle for the capital itself was, well, tragically short. Honestly, the fight for Seoul was pretty much over before it even really began.
Okay, so here are the official details. The First Battle of Seoul. It lasted just those 3 days, June 25th to the 28th. The outcome? A decisive, clear-cut victory for North Korea. The result? The capture of the capital. But within this story of collapse, the final hours were marked by a tragedy that was somehow even worse.
All right, so imagine the scene. North Korean tanks are closing in on the city. Panic is setting in, and a desperate, fateful decision is made. It's all about the main bridge over the Han River, the one and only major escape route out of Seoul.
And this is what happened. On June 28th, in a frantic attempt to slow down the North Koreans, the South Korean military blew up the bridge. But they did it too soon, way too soon. The explosion trapped thousands of their own soldiers on the wrong side of the river. And even worse, it killed hundreds of civilian refugees who were packed onto that bridge just trying to escape the fight.
Now, the fall of Seoul wasn't just a disaster for Korea. It was a global alarm bell. I mean, this news sent absolute shockwaves through Washington, London, and all across the Western world. It forced everyone to sit up and pay attention, and it triggered an immediate, dramatic reaction.
And President Truman's words here really capture the mood perfectly. He immediately framed this not as some local civil war, but as a huge escalation of the Cold War. For the rest of the world watching, this was it. This was the proof that communism wasn't just about subversion anymore. It was now willing to use straight-up armed invasion and war to expand.
And Truman wasn't just all talk either. He acted, and he acted fast. He ordered American air and land forces to go in and help South Korea. But look at this, it wasn't just about Korea. He also sent the U.S. 7th Fleet to protect Formosa, what we now call Taiwan, and beefed up U.S. forces in the Philippines. You can see it right there. The conflict was already getting bigger.
And right on the heels of that, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 84. And this was a total game changer. It authorized an international military response all under the UN flag.
This is the moment the war officially transformed from a regional conflict into a global police action, with the stated goal of restoring peace. So we're left with this really fascinating kind of tragic paradox, aren't we? The fall of Seoul was without a doubt a complete disaster for South Korea, a military catastrophe and a terrible human tragedy. But here's the question. Did that very disaster end up saving the nation? Was the shock of seeing a capital fall so fast the one thing that forced the world to jump in, ultimately stopping a total North Korean takeover? It's a huge question that really hangs over the start of the entire Korean War.